Hey everybody, Retrofied here, and today is the 7th day in this month-long marathon leading up to the Switch 2's launch. And for today, I wanted to talk about some new news about the Switch 2 that has come out recently. So if you guys are excited about the Switch 2's launch, make sure you comment, tell me what you're excited about, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of these videos in this month-long marathon. So without further ado, let's start talking about some of this new news that has recently come out. So first off, probably the biggest piece of news that has come out recently about the Switch 2 is Nintendo is apparently going to be able to brick your console. Now what I mean by this is Nintendo has updated their user agreement recently, and it basically says that they can brick your console remotely if you attempt to mod it. So this probably comes because the Switch 1 was modded so much even when it first came out. I remember seeing so many videos and tutorials on how to mod your Switch literally days and weeks after I had gotten my Switch. So it makes sense Nintendo would want to do something to kind of stray people away from modding their system, but being able to brick your system just because doesn't make any sense whatsoever. This is another just greedy move by Nintendo, like they've been doing so much with the Switch 2. Leading up to the launch of the system, they come out with so many of these just like greedy things, like with the virtual game cards, not being able to play games that your family owns. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And now this, them being able to just break your Switch 2 just because. So I'm pretty sure with the 3DS, they could ban you if you modded it back when it first came out, but that doesn't happen anymore, but you could still play games on it. So for Nintendo to just say, yeah, well, we're just gonna, break your system and not let you play any more games on it, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. These people are paying customers, they're paying that $450 price point for Nintendo to do what they want with their own electronic. It's their system now. Just because it has that Nintendo branding on it doesn't mean Nintendo still owns that exact system that's in their hands. So why are they acting like it does? This really does suck for the modding community, especially for the Switch 2 since this is such a powerful system. I bet later down the road, there will be a big modding scene for this system, but for now, it looks like we're not going to be able to mod any of these systems, at least in the first couple years of it being out. Alright, so next I want to talk about some even more not great news. Apparently Nintendo has said that the prices still will go up. So basically, shortly after Nintendo announced the pre-order date for the Switch 2, they delayed it because they said they wanted to wait to see how the market would be affected by the tariffs. And people were very worried that, they would up the price a bunch because it's already an expensive system, but with the tariffs, it could have gone up to about $650. But luckily, Nintendo didn't up the price just yet because I'm pretty sure some of the tariffs got delayed or pushed back, so Nintendo was able to make more systems and get them sent out to America as soon as possible before the actual tariffs hit them. So it looks like for the launch, Switch 2s, we're not going to have to pay a higher price, but later down the road, it might go up to about $600. So for Nintendo to come out and say this themselves is really bad news because it means that it's probably happening. One of the reasons why the pre-order was such a nightmare for the system is because a lot of people probably got one just because they didn't want to pay a higher price later on. Even some of the people in line when I was waiting at GameStop even said that's why they were getting a Switch 2 that day, is because they didn't want to have to pay upwards of $600 if the price got increased because of the tariffs. Which, this is just ridiculous. People buying a system out of fear of missing that price? Like I said earlier, this is just another kind of greedy thing by Nintendo to kind of, keep the price low just for now so more people get the system so that it looks good on their quarterly reports that they sold so many Switch 2s in the first quarter. It's just like, come on, man. So hopefully we don't see the price actually go up, or if it does go up, it'll only be about like $50. But with the tariff prices to Vietnam, which I believe is where most of the American Switches are produced, it looks like the price, like I said, could go up to about $650. So if you're still thinking about getting a Switch 2, I would think about getting it now or within the first couple months of it being out rather than getting it later just because of this price increase. Alright, so a little piece of news is that Nintendo is coming out and denying the AI art allegations of Mario Kart World. So what I mean by this is that some images in the game shown off in the trailer for it, and even the cover art of the game, a lot of people were accusing Nintendo of using AI to generate these pictures, and whenever I originally saw it during the Direct, I was kind of like iffy about it because it does kind of look like AI art, but I guess it's just a new stylization that they're using. But so this article says that a Nintendo spokesperson has said AI generated images were not used in the development of Mario Kart World. And like this article says, the game is still in development up till probably that trailer came out, so we could still be seeing some placeholder images in it and not necessarily what it's going to look like in the final game. But for the cover art, like I said, it's probably just a new stylization, whatever Nintendo's new direction they're going with is. So don't think anything major of it. Like they said, it's not AI. They're not going to lie to you about that. I think a lot of people recently have just kind of determined anything that looks slightly different is AI. So last bit of news for today is another big greedy thing Nintendo is doing. So with this new user agreement update, one of the parts in it basically says that you can't sue Nintendo. And what this means is that if you got hurt at Super Nintendo World on a ride, or you bought a Nintendo product and it hurt you, like how the N64 controller was, digging into people's palms, you can't sue them if you have a Switch. And if you accept that user agreement, you can't sue them. That's what they're saying with this. And Disney did something like this a couple years back, where if you had Disney Plus, you couldn't sue them from Disneyland. So one thing about this is this happened with Disney too, but this won't hold up in court. If you had life-threatening injuries or even died at Super Nintendo World, Nintendo is liable. Just because they say, hey, you can't sue us, doesn't mean you can't sue them. I believe there's something saying that if it's in the terms of service and it's a big legally binding thing, you can't go by it because nobody reads the terms of service. Nobody is reading that. So for you to just hide this crazy legal things in it doesn't hold up in court. So you still will be able to sue Nintendo if you really want to. But like I said, this is just another greedy thing Nintendo is doing. With this launch of the system, they've had so many just morally gray things they're doing with the Switch 2. How can you just come out and say, hey, you guys can't sue us if you die at our park? While breaking your system for modding it isn't something new, Nintendo has done this in the past, it's just they're kind of updating it for the Switch 2. It still is just bad move by them. Some people buy this system just to mod it. So for you to just say, you're not doing that anymore, and to also come out and say, you can't sue us. Why? I feel like a lot of people, including me, who make these videos and create content about Nintendo and just really love Nintendo, kind of forget that they're a company too. It's not like they're running their business acting like you guys are buddies and acting like their customers are just, some good old friends. They're trying to make money from you, so they're going to do anything in their power to make money from you. So that's all I got for today, and it just kind of shows you that Nintendo's been going in a different direction ever since Reggie left. This new Nintendo is just, it kind of sucks. I mean, we've seen this even back to the original Switch when the Joy-Cons came out with just a huge flaw. There's a really good animation by Hot Diggity Demon about the company with Joy-Con drift. So if you guys haven't seen that, you should go watch it. It's a great video. But yeah, like I said, this just new Nintendo just isn't that great. It just doesn't feel like they're really caring about their fans anymore, which always is just a bad thing for a company to do. So yeah, that's it for today. I'm not even gonna say to comment if you're excited about the Switch 2, just because I know a lot of you probably aren't now because of this. But still comment, tell me about what you think about all these new agreements they're coming out with. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more of these videos talking about this system leading up to its launch. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.